Every parent deserves to know the truth about vaccines. As a parent, you make informed choices to protect your child's health and safety every day. You research the best child care options for your family, make sure the car seat is properly installed for your newborn, and ask visitors to wash their hands before holding your newborn child. So why not make the best decision for your children by protecting them from certain diseases that can hurt them through vaccinations? Trust us, we understand. We all want to be informed advocates for our children's health, but as a result, parents often turn to the internet like Google, television, social media, celebrities, and friends for information. The trouble is, which of these sources are telling the truth? Which of them provide reliable, factual, research-based data? We all want to make the right choice when it comes to our children. Fellow parents, in this video we will talk about why getting vaccinations is one of the most important health decisions that you can make for your children. Vaccines are a way to build your body's natural immunity to a disease before becoming sick from a disease. This keeps you from contracting and spreading the disease, which also helps out the community. Before vaccines, many children died from diseases that vaccines now prevent, such as whooping cough, measles, and polio. Those same germs exist today, but because babies are protected by vaccines, we don't see these diseases nearly as often. Immunizing individual children also helps to protect the health of our community, especially those people who cannot be immunized, children who are too young to be vaccinated, or those who cannot receive certain vaccines for medical reasons, and the small portion of people who don't respond to a particular vaccine. Vaccines contain weakened or inactive parts of a particular organism, such as an antigen, that triggers an immune response within the body. Newer vaccines contain the blueprint for producing antigens rather than the antigen itself. Regardless of whether the vaccine is made up of the antigen itself or the blueprint so that the body will produce the antigen, this weakened version will not cause the disease in the person receiving the vaccine, but it will promote their immune system to respond much as it would have on its first reaction to the actual pathogen. Often parents surf the internet and read misinformation. This leads to conversations online that could give rise to false information about vaccines. In this section of the video, we will talk about whether there are harmful ingredients in our vaccines, like mercury, that go into vaccines, or whether vaccinations can cause autism, as well as why our children should get vaccines even if we have natural immunity. In this slide, we will talk about all of these topics and dispel some of fiction that has caused many parents to not give vaccination to their children. Many concerns about a link between vaccines and autism comes from a now retracted study published in the British Medical Journal by Andrew Wakefield. In 1998, his study found that the children began to experience the first signs of developmental delays shortly after receiving the MMR vaccine. Even though he was unable to find a clear scientific link between the MMR vaccine and autism, Wakefield stated that the MMR vaccine should not be used because it would increase the risk of your child developing autism. In 2010, the British Medical Journal fully retracted Wakefield's study after discovering that Wakefield acted unethically while performing his study. He took blood samples from children at his son's birthday party and failed to disclose that he received funding from parents who already had concerns about the MMR vaccine. The British Medical Council barred Wakefield from practicing medicine and revoked his license, finding him guilty of professional misconduct. Wakefield's study has led many parents to distrust the MMR vaccine by refusing to give their children the vaccine. This has ultimately led to the rise of measles in recent years. In response to the study, public and medical concerns over a possible link between vaccines and autism has led researchers to produce more studies across the world to see if there was a correlation between autism and vaccinations. After a decade of research, none of these studies has been able to recreate Wakefield's findings or find any connections between the MMR vaccine and autism. Vaccines have harmful chemicals in them. This is false. What is thimerosal and why is it used in some vaccines? Thimerosal is a type of mercury that was used in the past as a preservative in multi-dose vials in some childhood vaccines. Its main purpose was to prevent cross-contamination. With each new needle that was inserted into the multi-dose vial, it was possible for infectious microbes to get into the vial. The preservative thimerosal prevented cross-contamination when individual doses were drawn from it. Receiving a vaccine contaminated with bacteria can be deadly. In 1999, the FDA was required by law to assess the amount of mercury in all the products the agency oversaw. The CDC and FDA decided that as much mercury as possible should be removed from vaccines. This decision was made possible because of advances in the scientific field. Childhood vaccines could now be reformulated to leave out thimerosal without threatening their safety, effectiveness, and purity. Although thimerosal is still used in third world countries due to multi-dose vials for protection purposes, the United States no longer uses thimerosal in their standard one-dose vials. Natural immunity versus artificial immunity. My child has natural immunity and doesn't need vaccines. This is false. Some parents who are concerned about the safety of vaccines and their ingredients have also begun to promote natural immunity over artificial active immunity through vaccines, but in reality, science has shown that the only way to get natural immunity is through infection with the actual disease. This means that you have to get the disease in order to develop resistance. By getting the actual disease through natural immunity, it could cause your child to become severely ill or cause the death of your child because growing children are slowly developing their immune systems. Vaccines, on the other hand, cause a natural immune response in the body without causing illness. Vaccines are safe because those small doses of dead viruses or bacteria used in vaccines are recognized by our bodies. Your children then create antibodies to protect them against future infections. In this way, it tricks their bodies into thinking they've already had the disease. Overall, there's a greater risk when we weigh our child's lives through natural immunity versus vaccines. All in all, there is no need for any children in the world today to suffer from preventable diseases. Both natural immunity and active immunity provide protection, but active immunity through vaccines provides immediate protection. Through natural immunity, your infant runs the risk of getting sick or putting others in danger, which just isn't worth the overall health of your children. When I was around 4 years old, a family friend of ours passed away from meningitis. He was 3 years old and his parents decided not to vaccinate him. One day he was perfectly fine and the next he was rushed to the hospital. His death could have been prevented. If his parents would have just vaccinated him, he would never have contracted the illness. Vaccinating your children is crucial for their health and safety. Do your part today and vaccinate your child to save their life. It is extremely important for us to continue to vaccinate our children even though diseases like polio and diphtheria are basically unheard of in our current reality. The fact that many of these diseases have been eradicated or are on the verge of extinction is because of children continuing to get the vaccinations. The smallpox vaccination was once a vaccine that was given to every child. Today they no longer give this vaccine because it has been eradicated. By continuing to get our children vaccinated, we will protect other children that might not be able to receive a vaccination due to weakened immune systems or disabilities. Though herd immunity, which is when there is a resistance to the spread of an infectious disease because enough of a population is immune or vaccinated against the disease, we can further protect our vulnerability members of our population. Lastly, many schools and child care centers will not allow your children to attend without vaccinations because of things like herd immunity. If children who are not vaccinated go to school and contract an infectious disease, then there is a chance of spread within the school or child care center. That is a high risk that greatly outweighs any benefit you might see in not vaccinating your child. At the end of the day, all parents want to do is protect their children. Vaccines are an effective way of preventing the spread of diseases by decreasing the likelihood of your child contracting a disease and becoming sick. By vaccinating, you are not only protecting your child, but also everyone your child interacts with. Though there are many anti-vaccine publications, please do your research on the claims made by such publications. As we have explained today, even sources that appear to be reputable can sometimes contain misleading information. It is our duty as parents to set our children up for success in the future. By vaccinating, you are avoiding the problem of forcing your child to become sick in order to develop immunity because your child will have already developed immunity without having to encounter a particular disease. With this in mind, vaccinations are effective, reliable, and safe way to keep our children safe from the spread and contraction of harmful diseases.